If you thought you'd seen it all, think again, because this time the internet didn't just flinch, it froze. One claim, one pregnancy expose, and now, a bombshell that flipped the entire narrative on its head. Nevaeh Akira just looked straight into the chaos and said the one thing nobody was ready for. That Blueface isn't just a name from her past. He's her husband. Yeah, you heard that right. This is Hood Files, where secrets explode before your eyes. According to explosive claims spreading across blogs and timelines, what started as messy pregnancy talk has now turned into a full-blown relationship rewrite. Screenshots started flying, group chats lit up, blogs went into meltdown, and people everywhere asked the same thing at the same time. How did it get this far? The internet couldn't believe it, and you won't either. Because if this claim is true, it changes everything. Loyalty gets questioned, motives look darker, and what once felt like chaotic relationship drama suddenly feels strategic, calculated, intentional. So ask yourself honestly, if you were in this position, same betrayal, same threat, what would you do? Some fans are saying, bro said too much and they got him. Others are calling it the wildest switch-up of the year. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Let's break it all down, because it only gets uglier from here. The moment Nevaeh Akira said the word husband, the internet didn't argue, it panicked. Because nothing about that word fit the story people thought they understood. Up until then, the narrative was simple. Messy, loud, chaotic, but simple. Pregnancy expose, rumors, screenshots, a familiar triangle spinning out of control. But husband changed the temperature instantly. It wasn't just emotional anymore. It was positional. It suggested permanence, authority, a claim that rewrote the power structure everyone thought they knew. To understand why that single word detonated the timeline, you have to rewind, way back before the expose, before the alleged pregnancy claims, before blogs started racing each other to be first instead of accurate. This story didn't start with Nevaeh speaking up. It started with a pattern nobody wanted to say out loud. Every time his name surfaced next to a new woman, the outcome followed the same script. Public denial, online silence, then chaos. Fans had seen it enough times to predict it. Comment sections were full of the same warnings years ago. Here we go again. This never ends clean. Someone always gets hurt. And yet, the cycle kept spinning. Nevaeh Akira entered that cycle quietly. At first, she didn't feel different. Another name linked to him. Another woman the internet assumed would fade out once the attention shifted. Even when whispers started circulating, most people treated it like background noise. Temporary, replaceable, something that would burn out fast once the next scandal arrived. It didn't. Nevaeh stayed visible. Online, consistent. She didn't disappear when things got uncomfortable, and that alone made people uneasy. Because in this ecosystem, silence usually means someone got pushed out. Her presence suggested something unfinished, something unresolved. And the more she stayed, the more curiosity turned into suspicion. Meanwhile, the other side of this triangle was already emotionally loaded. Jaden wasn't just another ex in the public's eyes. She represented history, years, investment, sacrifice. Fans remember the stories she told long before fame magnified everything. About holding him down when no one else believed. About supporting him when the world wasn't watching yet. About loyalty being her currency in a relationship built on instability. That context mattered, because it explained why new women weren't treated like flings. They were treated like threats. Online critics loved to say she should have known better, that she signed up for chaos. But people forget something crucial about patterns. They don't become patterns without emotional buy-in. Jaden didn't just stay. She attached her identity to being the constant in someone else's disorder. That kind of attachment doesn't disappear quietly. It resists replacement. So when Nevaeh's name kept popping up, tension was inevitable. At first, it stayed subtle. Indirects, energy shifts, fans reading too deeply into captions and expressions. But behind the scenes, according to circulating claims, conversations were happening that would later reframe everything. Conversations about responsibility, about money, about boundaries, and eventually about pregnancy. When Nevaeh claimed she was pregnant, The internet didn't react gently. It exploded. Screenshots started flying. Group chats lit up. Blogs went into meltdown. And suddenly, the story wasn't speculative anymore. It had stakes. The response everyone waited for never came the way they expected. There was no emotional denial, no dramatic confession, just distance, detachment, a reaction so cold it felt louder than shouting. And that silence became fuel, because when pregnancy enters the picture, absence feels intentional. Fans began dissecting everything. Old clips, old interviews, past reactions to similar situations. They noticed the same behavioral pattern repeating. Chaos around him, women imploding publicly, and him moving on unaffected. Again, Nevaeh didn't retreat after making her claim. She leaned in, spoke louder, asserted herself. And according to online narratives, that confidence didn't come from desperation. It came from certainty. That distinction mattered, because desperation asked for validation. Certainty dares someone to challenge it. That's when Jaden's energy shifted. She didn't respond immediately. She watched, absorbed, let the internet argue while she stayed quiet. But longtime observers knew that silence wasn't calm. It was pressure building, because when she reacts, she doesn't test the water. She dives in. Old statements resurfaced. Interviews where she spoke about being the only baby mother. Comments that once sounded proud now felt territorial. Fans who'd seen this cycle before started connecting dots again. This wasn't jealousy. It was protection of position. Behind the scenes, alleged messages began circulating. Conversations framed as transactional, cold, blunt. According to claims, Nevaeh didn't want long-term attachment. She wanted the situation handled quickly, quietly, and when those requests were allegedly dismissed, humiliation entered the equation. That's where everything escalated, because humiliation mixed with pregnancy claims doesn't stay private. Nevaeh went public, mocked him, accused him of lying to preserve image, threatened to expose what she claimed he wanted hidden. And just like that, what could have been handled off camera became a spectacle. Jaden was watching all of it unfold in real time. The imbalance became obvious. One woman claiming pregnancy, another absorbing emotional fallout, and the man at the center staying untouched. Fans started saying it openly. Why does he always walk away? Why do the women pay the price? The conversation shifted from drama to power. Then the footage surfaced, blurry, chaotic, short enough to spark outrage without clarity. Viewers slowed it down, zoomed in, analyzed body language like evidence. Some claimed Jaden had the upper hand. Others argued the clip didn't show the full context. But once police were mentioned, the tone changed. This wasn't content anymore. It was consequence. That's when Nevaeh made another claim, that after the confrontation, she lost the pregnancy. Allegedly, no confirmation, no documents, just her statement. But the accusation alone reframed everything. It turned gossip into something heavier, something darker. Now, the questions weren't about who started it. They were about motive. Was this about love, control, fear of replacement, or a cycle repeating so loudly it could no longer be ignored? The internet split into sides instantly, but certainty disappeared. Because when stories reach this point, truth hides behind emotion. Jaden's arrest pushed the situation past the point of entertainment. This wasn't a live stream meltdown. This was paperwork, legal consequences, a moment where loyalty stopped looking admirable and started looking dangerous. Fans who once defended her began questioning the cost of staying. Nevaeh became divisive, victim to some, provocateur to others. Her credibility dissected, her past replayed. But regardless of opinion, one thing became undeniable. The situation had spiraled beyond control, and while both women absorbed the fallout, the center remained unmoved. That imbalance is what made the next move impossible to ignore. Because just when everyone thought the narrative was set, just when it felt like the damage had already peaked, Nevaeh Akira said the word that shattered every assumption: husband. But what came next, even his enemies didn't expect. The word husband didn't just shift the narrative, it detonated it. Because up until that moment, everyone believed they were watching a familiar script play out. Pregnancy claims, online chaos, public silence, legal trouble for everyone except the man in the middle. But the second Nevaeh Akira reframed the relationship, the entire timeline had to be re-examined from scratch. People immediately went back. Old posts, old lives, old captions that once looked harmless suddenly felt coded. Fans replayed clips where Nevaeh spoke confidently, not emotionally, where she didn't beg for acknowledgement but asserted it. And in hindsight, that confidence started making uncomfortable sense. Because confidence doesn't come from hope, it comes from leverage. Blogs exploded again, but this time the tone was different. This wasn't is she pregnant? Speculation anymore. This was what do we not know? Screenshots that had been ignored before were reposted with new captions. Timelines were stitched together. And suddenly, people weren't asking if something was hidden. They were asking how long it had been hidden. According to circulating claims, Nevaeh's decision to go public wasn't impulsive. It was timed, strategically late, after silence, after dismissal, after humiliation, which is why the husband claim hit so hard. It reframed her not as a side character reacting emotionally, but as someone stepping forward with authority when she felt forced to, and that distinction enraged people. Supporters of Jaden accused Nevaeh of manipulation, of using pregnancy claims as a weapon, of rewriting history to save face. They argued that if there had been anything official, it would have surfaced earlier, that silence didn't protect marriages. It exposed lies. On the other side, Nevaeh's defenders argued the opposite. They said secrecy was the point, that private relationships don't trend until they're forced into daylight, that claiming husband wasn't escalation, it was defense, a refusal to be erased. Meanwhile, the man at the center of it all stayed remarkably quiet. That silence wasn't neutral. It was strategic, because responding would mean choosing a narrative, and choosing a narrative would mean accountability. Instead, he posted casually, joked, filmed content like nothing was happening, and the internet noticed. Again, sarcastic commentary flooded timelines. Because nothing screams stability like ignoring two women arguing over your name. Must be nice watching chaos from a distance. The jokes weren't funny anymore. They were indictments. Then came the alleged leaks. Not full conversations. Fragments. Screenshots without timestamps. Messages cropped just enough to suggest intent without context. According to those circulating images, Nevaeh had been clear about one thing. She didn't want to be publicly attached forever. She didn't want to be another name dragged online. She wanted the situation handled. Quietly, quickly, the alleged responses made things worse. Cold, dismissive, detached. Screenshots that suggested money was discussed like a nuisance, not responsibility. Fans dragged him instantly, because nothing triggers outrage faster than pregnancy conversations treated like inconveniences, especially when paired with a pattern people already recognized. Nevaeh didn't retreat after the leaks. She doubled down, went live, mocked him openly, accused him of lying to protect his image, claimed she ended things, not him. And just like that, the power dynamic shifted again. Because control isn't about silence, it's about who speaks last. Jaden re-entered the narrative through energy, not statements. Indirect posts, subtle shots, old clips resurfacing without explanation. Fans interpreted everything. Some said she was reclaiming her place. Others said she was spiraling. But no one could deny the tension was escalating towards something irreversible. And then the conversation took a darker turn. Anonymous sources began whispering about threats, about pressure, about attempts to keep things quiet. None confirmed, all circulated. And in the absence of official statements, speculation filled the gaps aggressively. Blogs stopped asking questions and started declaring conclusions. That's when the legal angle intensified. Commentators began speculating about potential charges, about responsibility, about what could happen if claims were proven or disproven. Words like investigation and court started appearing next to names that had once only trended for drama. The shift was jarring, because the internet loves chaos, but it freezes when consequences enter the room. Jaden's arrest became the symbol of that shift. It wasn't just a headline. It was confirmation that this had crossed a line that couldn't be scrolled past. Fans who once defended her loyalty started reassessing it, because loyalty doesn't protect you from handcuffs, and history doesn't reduce charges. Old interviews hit differently now. Clips of her talking about sacrifice felt tragic instead of inspiring. Walking to work, holding him down, believing she earned her position through endurance. Those moments replayed with new weight, because after everything she invested, she was the one facing legal fallout. Nevaeh's position grew more complicated. Her claim of pregnancy loss changed the emotional temperature immediately. Even skeptics softened, because regardless of motive, loss carries gravity. But the internet doesn't handle grief gently. It interrogates it. Her statements were dissected, her tone analyzed, her credibility debated endlessly. Some accuse her of escalating intentionally. Others believe she was pushed to the edge by dismissal and humiliation. The truth became impossible to separate from narrative, because when everything plays out online, perception often outruns facts. And still, the center remained unchanged. He continued posting, laughing, auditioning women publicly, talking about relationships like they were replaceable roles. No direct acknowledgement of the arrest. No public reflection on the alleged loss. No accountability. And that detachment became the loudest statement of all. Blogs pivoted again. The framing shifted from who's lying to why does this keep happening? Headlines questioned patterns instead of personalities. Why do the women implode while he stays untouched? Why does accountability never land where it should? The commentary grew sharper as the answers became obvious, because this wasn't the first time. Another pregnancy from the past resurfaced. Another situation handled badly. Another woman emotionally destroyed while he walked away. The repetition was undeniable. Fans started saying it openly. This isn't drama. It's a cycle, and cycles don't break themselves. By the time Nevaeh's husband claims settled into the narrative, it felt less like a shock and more like a final assertion, a refusal to be minimized. Whether true or not, the claim forced everyone to confront the same uncomfortable reality. Chaos doesn't happen randomly. It follows behavior. And just when it seemed like the story had reached its darkest point, just when people thought there were no more layers to peel back, another name came up. That other name didn't even need an introduction. The moment it resurfaced, people understood exactly why the room went quiet. Because once timelines started getting traced backward instead of forward, the pattern wasn't just visible, it was unavoidable. Different women, different moments, same ending. Every major blow-up followed the same arc. Emotional attachment, public denial, pregnancy entering the conversation, escalation, fallout landing everywhere except in the man at the center. This time, though, the consequences didn't stay online. As the noise faded slightly, reality set in for Jaden in a way hashtags never could. Court dates don't care about loyalty. Charges don't disappear because public opinion shifts. And sympathy doesn't erase records. People who once praised her for staying through chaos began asking a harder question. At what point does endurance turn into self-destruction? That question followed her everywhere. Clips resurfaced of Jaden promising she was done, finished, over it. Confident declarations delivered like she had finally chosen peace. And for a moment, people believed her. They wanted to, because everyone loves a redemption arc. But belief faded quickly when history repeated itself. She popped back up, reclaimed her place, smiled through the noise, and the audience sighed collectively, not in shock, in recognition. Because this wasn't surprising anymore. It was expected. What shocked people was how far it went this time. Taking someone back is one thing. Potentially losing your freedom over them is another. That's where the story stopped feeling entertaining and started feeling tragic, where commentary turned into concern. Meanwhile, Nevaeh's presence grew quieter but heavier. Allegations aside, her claim of pregnancy loss reframed how many people viewed the situation. Even critics softened their tone. Loss isn't something that trends away just because the internet moves on. It lingers privately long after debates end. But sympathy didn't shield her from scrutiny. Her past was dissected, old posts replayed, statements analyzed frame by frame. Some accused her of escalating intentionally. of weaponizing claims when things didn't go her way. Others believed she was pushed there by dismissal, humiliation, and silence. The truth sat somewhere in a fog of speculation, unreachable without facts that never became public. And through all of it, the man at the center remained unchanged. That's what people couldn't let go of. He continued posting like nothing had happened, laughing, cooking, joking, auditioning women openly as if relationships were interchangeable. He didn't acknowledge the arrest directly, didn't address the alleged loss, didn't take responsibility publicly, and the silence didn't feel accidental. It felt practiced, not because he didn't know, but because he didn't have to. That realization shifted the entire conversation. People stopped arguing about who started it and started asking who benefits. And the answer was painfully obvious. The same person always walked forward, while everyone else absorbed the damage. Again, just like before, comment sections filled with variations of the same observation. He moves on. They pay the price, over and over. And at some point, pattern stops being coincidence and starts being choice. That's when the story turned inward. This wasn't just about three names anymore. It was about how chaos gets romanticized until it becomes irreversible. How loyalty gets praised even when it costs someone their peace. How love gets confused with endurance. How staying becomes a badge of honor, even when it's slowly breaking you. Jaden's story became a cautionary tale in real time. Not because she reacted emotionally, emotions are human, but because she stayed emotionally invested in a situation that never protected her. Years of holding someone down didn't buy security. It bought expectations. And when those expectations weren't met, the consequences landed squarely on her shoulders. That realization hit hard, especially as the internet began to move on. A new scandal trended. New names replaced old ones. But legal consequences don't scroll away. They follow, quietly, persistently, long after attention shifts. People who once cheered her on began urging distance, silence, therapy, reset, because for the first time, the stakes weren't theoretical. This wasn't clout. This was freedom. For Nevaeh, the fallout was different, but just as permanent. Even as she retreated from the spotlight, the allegations attached to her name remained searchable. That's another cost nobody talks about. The internet never forgets pain it didn't experience. And still, her humanity was debated instead of protected. Her loss weighed against narratives. Her motives ranked like arguments in a comment section. That's the cruelty of public scandals. They turn people into positions instead of individuals. As the man at the center, his detachment became the loudest statement of all, whether intentional or not. His ability to remain untouched forced people to confront an uncomfortable truth. Accountability doesn't always land where it should. Sometimes it slides off the person best positioned to avoid it. And that's why this story resonated deeper than gossip. Because everyone watching knew someone like this. A person who leaves chaos behind without consequence. A relationship where one side absorbs all the damage. A cycle that repeats because no one breaks it. The ending wasn't explosive. It was quiet, heavy, inevitable. Jaden didn't vanish completely, but the narrative around her changed permanently. She wasn't just reacting online anymore. She was navigating something that could follow her for life, and no amount of posts could rewrite that reality. Nevaeh stepped back, but the questions didn't disappear. They lingered, about truth, about motive, about what really happened behind closed doors. And without answers, speculation became the only thing people had left. And the man who started the storm kept moving forward, unchanged, reinforcing the same pattern that ignited everything in the first place. In the end, this wasn't about one fight or one claim. It was about repetition. A script replayed with different faces. The difference this time was the weight of the consequences. Loyalty stopped looking noble. Love stopped looking safe. Chaos stopped looking entertaining. Because when patterns repeat this loudly, they stop being coincidences. And when nothing changes, history doesn't end. She vanished without a trace, but the secret stayed. And that's where this story leaves us. Not with closure, not with justice, but with questions that refuse to go away. Because no matter how many clips surface, how many screenshots leak, or how many sides the internet chooses, One thing is clear. This crossed a line from entertainment into real-life consequences. Now, ask yourself honestly, if you were in Jaden's position, same history, same loyalty, same betrayal staring you in the face, what would you have done differently? Would you have walked away sooner? Would you have reacted the same way? Or would you still believe that holding someone down long enough eventually makes them change? And what about Nevaeh? If you were carrying a child and felt dismissed, minimized, humiliated publicly, how would you respond when the internet turned your pain into content? Where does accountability really start when emotions, money, and power are tangled together? Then there's the question nobody wants to answer. Why does the same man keep walking away untouched while everyone around him pays a price? Is it strategy, indifference, or proof that chaos only stops when someone refuses to participate in it? This story isn't finished. Court dates don't move on social media time. Allegations don't disappear because attention shifts, and patterns don't break themselves. So now we want to hear from you. What do you think really happened here? Was this inevitable? Was it preventable? And who carries the most responsibility in this mess? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you want real breakdowns, not sugar-coated narratives. And stay locked in, because Hood Files is watching closely. And trust us, the next chapter is coming. And this is where the story stops being theirs and starts becoming yours. Because no matter how many clips you've seen, how many screenshots have leaked, or how many sides the internet has chosen, one thing is undeniable. This situation crossed a line from entertainment into real-life consequences. Careers shaken, reputations damaged, freedom questioned, and a cycle that keeps repeating because nobody steps out of it. So now we want to hear from you. If you were in Jaden's position, same history, same loyalty, same years invested, would you have stayed as long as she did? Would you have reacted the same way when everything finally boiled over? Or would you have walked away the moment the pattern became clear? And what about Nevaeh? If you felt dismissed, minimized, and humiliated publicly while carrying something so serious, how would you have responded when the internet turned your pain into content? Where does accountability really begin when emotions, money, and power are all tangled together? Then there's the question nobody wants to answer honestly. Why does the same man keep walking away untouched while everyone around him pays a price? Is it strategy? Is it indifference? Or is it proof that chaos only stops when someone refuses to participate in it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this isn't just gossip. It's a conversation that exposes patterns a lot of people recognize in their own lives. And if you want real breakdowns, not sugar-coated narratives, not PR spins, not selective silence, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story isn't over. Court dates don't move on social media time. Allegations don't disappear just because a new scandal trends. And patterns don't break themselves. Stay locked in. Stay questioning. This is Hood Files, where secrets explode before your eyes. And trust us, the next chapter is coming.